The New Jersey Public Meetings Law was enacted to ensure the right of the public to have advance notice of and to attend the meetings of public bodies at which any business affecting their interest is discussed or acted upon. In accordance with the provisions of this act, the Belvidere Board of Education has caused notice of this meeting to be published by having the date, time, and place thereof posted with the Star Ledger and Express Times and submitted to the Town Clerk of Belvidere on October 9th, 2020. Due to COVID-19, masks will be required at this meeting when proper social distancing cannot be maintained. Board members will be able to participate in the meeting virtually via conference call, and the meeting will be live streamed for members of the public that do not wish to attend in person. Public not in attendance can email comments to be read during public participation to rtjalma@belvideresd.org. Public comments on agenda items need to be received by 7 p.m. and have public participation number 1 in the subject line. Public comment that is not related to agenda items needs to be received by 7:45 p.m. and have public participation number 2 in the line of the email. We need to pass a resolution pursuant to bylaw 9310 to suspend certain meeting procedures as described in the notice of meeting, specifically to authorize board members to participate in the meeting virtually via conference call if desired. Can I get a motion and a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Okay, we're at the moment for the flag salute. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call, Shell.
Mrs. Dunn? Here. Mrs. Constantino? Here. Mr. Zepes?
Here.
Mrs. Duckworth? Here. Mr. LeVar?
Here.
Mrs. Pell? Here. Mrs. Scott? Here. Mr. Smith?
Here.
Mrs. Steppen?
Here.
Mr. Ty? Mrs. Williams? Here.
Okay, we're at the time in our meeting for public participation number 1. Shel, do you have anything? Nothing? Okay, so we're going to go into executive session first. Can I get a motion in a session and a second to go into executive session to interview applicants for the open board seat?
Mary Ann?
Pardon me? Oh, sorry. I could. Do you really want me to, Don?
Don Mitchell, Belvidere Town Council. I just want to talk quickly about the public question that's on the ballot concerning moving the school board election. Mary Ann has been good about reminding everyone every meeting, but there's 2 sides to it. It is going to cost taxpayers money. That is absolutely true. But I think for that cost, the town people get a say in the school budget. I can tell you from my own personal experience, I've had more people come to me in the 10 months I've been on town council complaining about taxes than I ever did being on the school board. I find it amazing. I don't understand it. But the reality is this budget of this district represents 54% of people's tax. And no one comes here to complain. No one shows up at budget meetings. I think we get 2 or 3 people. So it's a question we're putting out there. People have been complaining about taxes. I can tell you all the years I've been on the board with negotiations. I can't tell you how many letters, and Marion, you probably read some as well, from our staff saying, I can't make ends meet. I don't know if I should buy food or make a car payment or turn the heat on. And I think there's a lot of people in our town that are in the same situation. So we're giving them an opportunity to have a say. Yes, it's going to cost money, but I think if they want to have a say in their taxes, they need to vote for that so that they can have a say in their taxes. Okay, so that's what I wanted to say. So yes, there is 2 sides of it, and I would encourage people, if anything, just to vote.
I'm with you on that one.
Thank you.
Thanks, Don. Anybody else from the public?
Kathy Myers, Belvidere Town Council. I just wanted to clarify for the referendum, when we first discussed the amount of money, that was the cost that we had gotten from the election board. When we wrote the referendum language, we rechecked, and because of the pandemic, paper ballot, and all of the other inherent costs, they would not give me a fixed number, so we did not put a number in the referendum. So that's why there appears to be a difference in when we discussed it initially, but we were not comfortable putting language in there that wasn't true. So that's why there's no dollar amount there, because they can't say.
Thanks, Kath. Anybody else from the public? Okay, now we'll go to, can I get a motion in a second to go to executive session to interview applicants for the open board seat and to discuss HIV? The matters discussed will be disclosed to the public when the reasons for confidentiality no longer exist. Second. Oh, there we go. All right, so we're going to go into exec, we're going to interview, have a discussion, and we come back, we're going to take a lot of action.
We'll do HIV first.
Okay, do we have a motion? Oh, back in session, in case anybody's not paying attention. Can I get a motion for the new board member? Can I say who it is, or who we want to appoint? Can I read that?
I think so. I don't know.
And can I get a motion in a second to appoint Andy White as the new board member to fill Michelle Bokimo's seat?
Second.
Second? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstain?
I'll abstain.
I abstain as well. Brian and Jen?
Yes. Welcome, Andy.
Come on up.
We're going to swear him in. You get to start tonight.
That'll find it. I know they can find it.
If you want to come up, we're going to swear you in, and then you can have a seat. Yeah, I guess there, so that everybody can hear you say your thing.
Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
I state your name,
I, Andy White,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of New Jersey,
and the Constitution of the State of New Jersey,
and that I will bear true faith
and I will bear true faith
and allegiance to the same
and allegiance to the same
and to the governments established
and to the governments established
in the United States
in the United States
and this state
and this state
under the authority of the people,
under the authority of the people,
so help me God.
so help me God.
I state your name,
I, Andy White,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I possess the qualifications
that I possess the qualifications
prescribed by law
prescribed by law
for the office
for the office
of member
of member
of the Board of Education,
of the Board of Education,
and that I am not disqualified
and I am not disqualified
as a voter
as a voter
pursuant to 19-4-1,
pursuant to 19-4-1,
nor disqualified
nor disqualified
due to conviction of a crime
due to conviction of a crime
or offense listed in
or offense listed in
NJS 18A
NJS 18A
12-1,
12-1,
and that I will faithfully,
impartially, and justly
perform all duties
perform all duties
of that office
of that office
according to the best of my ability,
according to the best of my ability,
so help me God.
so help me God.
Welcome, you're done.
Thank you.
Have a seat. Michelle, do you have an agenda form? Laura, I would like to thank you, though, for applying, and if another seat opens up, feel free to apply again. Okay, Shel, correspondence?
I don't have any.
None? Superintendent's report?
I'll try to be a little bit more brief than usual since we're already an hour in tonight. I just want to take a moment to thank everyone district-wide in the community for the patience and understanding we've been showing. Again, we had a situation with a student who tested positive for COVID, and we made some adjustments over the weekend, and I think everybody did a fantastic job of adjusting on the fly. So just want everybody to know I appreciate that. A reminder for the high school, the Scarlet Group will be back tomorrow. it wasn't easy. It was a long weekend working with the county health department. They are fantastic to work with. We probably all missed Golda, Miss Donna Golda, a day or two off too, because she was working with us all weekend trying to get everything together, so I do appreciate that. But it's just a constant reminder that we're day to day, and things can just change with a quick phone call. So I do appreciate everybody's effort. I'd like to just also just take a second to really kind of a shout out and kudos to our athletes. I think they've done an outstanding job of following all of our protocols so far that we've set this year. We haven't had any issues with any of our student athletes, and all of our games have been able to pretty much go on as scheduled, minus the football opener. And I think it's we need to attribute some greatness to our players and our coaches and really following along and everything. And it's great to see that we can still pull off even tonight, a soccer game at night, have some fans there, everybody social distance. When I was at the football game, the first game we had, it was just great to see the parents cooperating. Our crack security team had to talk to a few of the parents, but all were very cooperative once they were spoken to. It was really great to see, so I do appreciate that. But I think our student athletes understand what's at stake if it takes one positive and what that could mean for a season. So thanks to them for just being a part of this. We do have some dates coming up for opting in. Keep in mind that we are on 2 separate dates. So for the elementary school, Mr. Carabina sent out in his weekly message, I think it was last week and 2 weeks ago, just the dates. And I think, correct me if I'm wrong, Chris, it's next 2 Fridays from now, the 14th, 13th, 19th. No, it's before that, isn't it? Opens on 9th, closes on the 13th. And then the high school, Ms. McKinney, I know you ran through it today.
It's open now and it's closing on Wednesday the 4th.
Open now, closing on Wednesday the 4th. So that would be for the second marking period and for the second trimester. So, and then we'll take a look and see what kind of numbers we have with students opting back in. Just a reminder, next week we are off for Tuesday for the election day, and then Thursday and Friday also for our annual teachers convention. Another reminder, we do have a special meeting scheduled for Monday, November 9th. That's at 6. Kathy Hellwell from School Boards will be here just to go over the board evaluation and go through that. I have on here at the next board meeting, and then we'll discuss this at our next personnel meeting. We'll discuss winter coaches and their approval, so we can have everything up and running for that first week in December when everything starts. I did want to comment that on the personnel agenda, we did discuss most of that in our last personnel meeting, but there was a few loose ends, so I didn't want to put as recommended by personnel committee and the superintendent, because there was a few fill in the blanks, but most of that was discussed. And last 2 things I have is, number 1, if you travel, whether you're a teacher or you are a parent or student, and you go to one of the hotspots, we had this discussion this morning at a county meeting, you are going to be asked to quarantine. Okay, they're going to hold us to that, and it sounds like the state of New Jersey is going to start to crack down a little bit more on that. So, if you have plans to travel, please let us know, and then we'll set up the virtual instruction if a student does travel. If we can, during new business tonight, I'd like to discuss the youth groups using the facilities, especially now that we're hitting the basketball season, and what the board's feeling is on that, and then. Just the last thing I have is also, at the next meeting, we'll spend some time talking about the results from Linkit. Ms. McKinney and I are still working on trying to figure out how to best share that. We plan to get the information to the parents and how each individual student did, hopefully by no later than the 15th of November, but right around that date is our target date right now. And then we'll spend some time on the 16th just going through what we've seen and some of the commonalities. And I think that's everything that I have for tonight. I'm trying to get everything. I think that's all I have. Yeah.
Okay, any questions for Chris? No? Okay. Can I get a motion in a second for policy items 1 through 12? They're all first reading, it looks like? Yes, and there's no add-ons, right? So can I get a motion second for policy items 1 through 12?
Motion.
All in favor? Or hang on, any discussion? Questions? Okay, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstain? Okay. Personnel, we have a couple of add-ons, 18 through 23. I guess it's a changes to 18 and 19, and then it looks like an add-on of 23. So we're looking at personnel items 13 through 25. Motion and a second? Motion? Second?
I have a question.
Hold on, can we get a second first?
Second.
Okay, now you can ask your question.
The academic behavior coach?
What item?
How many do we have, and do we have a progress update on how that's going, and whether the current academic coaches are fully staffed, or?
Can I report on it at the next meeting? I can give you a much more on curriculum.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And how does it, I know we should have discussed this in curriculum, but is it just when a student reaches out to them?
It's actually, the way it should be done is through when we do our RTI process and the INRS process. If we notice that a student, we can go over to talking to the mic. If a student is having academic or behavioral issues, then the committee will recommend that. And then we have a
Send
set
out a
of...
signal if you want to. I don't know if it's you or me or, yeah.
Okay. And then we'll reach into our pool of teachers that are already approved. I can tell you that we are probably a couple short because we do have some students, especially now, given that we were out for such a long period of time.
Still, Chris, I don't
I'm
know
sorry.
if they're hearing it. I don't know if they're hearing you or that. Better.
So that's the way we look at that. We try to match up the students.
Yeah, I'm just wondering, because we have a lot of teachers, I shouldn't say a lot, we have a portion of teachers that may be, we have some teachers that are overstaffed and some teachers that are
Right.
overworked and some teachers that are underworked. Do we really need 2 more academic behavior coaches, you know, with some of the special teachers and other having free periods? I would just question that.
Okay. I'll report, you want the report for curriculum?
Yeah,
Quick,
that sounds good. That should be in curriculum.
Okay.
Because I don't think we discussed that curriculum, did we?
I don't, not definitely on this meeting. Maybe in the past, but not this past meeting.
Not discussed it. Okay.
Other questions? I just want to clarify one. I have one that I want to make sure is clarified. Item 19, appoint staff. This is where we're adding a teacher, really adding a teacher. And the intent of the teacher is to teach the MD students who came to school physically and are being taught virtually. We're now going to have an in-person teacher. I just want to make sure that that's what's happening with that position.
That is what's happening with that position.
Okay, I want clarification. Any other questions? No? Okay.
Is there the custodian? I do have another question.
Go ahead.
Was that discussed?
Yeah, we had a resignation we accepted a resignation at the last meeting,
Yeah.
so it's replacement.
I think
It's
I
not an
missed
addition.
that.
Yeah, it's not an
Yeah,
addition.
I saw it, but I wasn't sure. Okay.
No other questions? Sal?
Mr. Blum?
Yes.
Mrs. Constantino?
Yes.
Dr. Zuppet?
Yes.
Mrs. Duckworth?
Yes.
Mr. LeBar?
Yes.
Mrs. Pell?
Well, yes, except number 23, are we tabling that? Or we're just voting yes on it?
It's up to you what you want to vote on. If you want to vote no or yes, or, we weren't going to table it, no.
Oh, okay. Well, not until we find out curriculum-wise what the need is? Okay.
Yeah. I don't
All
know.
right, yes and no on 23 then, or abstain on 23, whatever.
Which one?
No or abstain.
No, because I don't have all the information. Okay.
Mrs. Scott?
Yes.
Mr. Smith?
Yes.
Mrs. Steffen?
Yes.
Mrs. Williams?
Yes.
Mr. White?
Okay, can I get a motion and a second for education items 26 through 32? It doesn't look like there's any add-ons. I'm going to back up a little bit because I was making that noise too. Motion and a second.
Motion.
Second, somebody?
Second.
Just real quick, on the memorandum of agreement between us and local law enforcement, that has not changed at all, so it's just the annual re-upping of it.
Okay. Good. Any questions? You good?
That's the question of those.
Okay. That's the next one. All in favor? Aye? No? Abstentions? Okay. Motion and a second for business items. That would be items 33 through 38. You get a motion?
Motion.
Second?
Second.
Thank you. Questions?
Yes, question.
Bobby.
Check number 21722, Addie Gandel, arbitrator fee insurance coverage. What was that?
That was the arbitration with the NJEA regarding the,
I think that's preschool decision.
did you say it was regarding insurance?
Regarding,
You said it was regarding insurance? Is that what, I don't have the person.
What's it regarding, Bob?
it says insurance coverage.
They must be then on the insurance, yeah.
It was the clarification regarding the HRA for the in-network or out-of-network for Horizon.
Okay.
Mr. Blum, you said that was 21722?
Yes.
I was actually looking at the bills today, and for some reason I saw that one. Ask your next question. Let me just, if I can, I'll circle back to it.
Go ahead, Bob, next.
Check number 21754, Wendy Young, arbitrator invoice preschool enroll.
That's what I was looking at. That was specifically the arbitrator on the preschool grievance that got filed back to last year.
Regarding the grievance?
With the preschool and us not allowing one of our teaching staff to send their children.
Oh, got it, okay.
That was one I was actually looking at too, Mr. Blum. I saw that too.
Check number 21760, Andrea Romano, a mentor fee. Who's that for?
That is for Ryan Begelli.
Mentoring fee, what is that?
It's the fee, and it's part of the contract for her to get her her full standard chief school administrator license, which she needs to use to operate. And always remember that that fee is divided by 4.
And my last question is 21779, the Lampo Group.
Say that one again?
Lampo, Lampo.
Do you have it in front of you?
It just says the Lampo Group LLC, order number 8735721, in the amount of $33.49. I don't remember off the top of my head, but that
I
one
had a
was.
question on that as well.
Is the mailbox in here? Yeah?
Might be you.
But they're not in alphabetical order anymore. So I'll have to get back to you.
Oh, that's
Is that
fine.
okay?
You mixed them up?
One other question, if I may, please. The voided check to Dr. Zawicki for $8,500, why was that voided?
He did not deliver on the services that were requested.
Fair enough, thank you.
Is that due to pandemic?
It was due that he just never delivered on his services. I don't know that I have a really good reason for that.
Can I ask some questions?
Yep, I was gonna say, you're next.
Preschool aprons, $537 on August 27th, 20. I don't have the check number. Is that for the kids? Everybody get an apron? Is that what that is?
Staff?
It's preschool aprons, five, so how many staff got aprons? Oh, so we just check them after we use them once?
No, they have one that they wear in school, one that they wash, they pack two minimum, but there's a lot of changing that goes on in for every classroom, not just preschool.
Okay, so these aren't just for the preschool teachers, but for other staff?
For staff, yes. I don't know how they're distributed amongst the
Oh,
teachers.
just a lot of money in maintenance, that's all, for a couple of teachers, that's all, okay. All right. Commercial flooring, 8,156. Gillespie Group. Is that part of the science project? You don't know, okay. Okay, go.
It would be great if you guys could email me specific questions like this ahead of time, and
Well,
then I
yeah,
can
yeah.
have all of it in front of me.
We'll do that, we'll definitely, I'm happy to do that next week, that's why I
Absolutely.
asked a little bit ago.
The last group, I mean, usually that's for asbestos removal, but I just can't recall off the
Sure.
top of my head.
And then there was a tile project for 12K. Was that also part of,
Same.
I just remember the science ventilation room, I remember the asbestos, but I don't know if the tile is associated with that, or
Tile's
these are
not-
all
I don't think-
other projects, I don't remember any of
The
these other
science
projects.
room, I believe, was DeSavio, different vendor.
There were Oxford Street classrooms that asbestos.
I just don't remember talking about a tile project in any of the finance
Did you
meetings.
hear Chris say they were
Tile
Oxford
project would
Street
definitely be for
asbestos?
asbestos removal.
Oh, no, I didn't hear him.
Yeah, he just said
okay.
that.
Asbestos.
For the commercial flooring? Okay, and what about for the tile?
It's part of the
Replacement.
same, they have to
Second,
replace the
third.
tile once they pull it
okay.
out,
Yep.
National flooring removal, $9,900,
probably.
same
Our asbestos
project?
projects.
Same
We
asbestos?
did more than one.
Okay.
Susanians and Spencer.
I saw that on one of the bills we get charged every time we change a meeting, a Board of Education meeting?
We have to do a legal advertisement in 2 papers every time.
Okay,
I try to combine them the best that we can.
okay. I thought that was crazy, so we have to try to like not reschedule here then, huh?
Yep.
Okay. Activity table, $2,883.12. Kind of a activity table is that?
That is in the MD classroom.
Okay. That's what I was wondering. So it's an extensive activity table. And that's it.
That's it. Anybody else have any questions on the business items we're looking at? No? Okay, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstentions?
I'm gonna abstain until I know more details.
Okay. On all of them or just on
My questions.
the approved bills then, item
Yeah, I'll
36?
just abstain on approved bills. Thank you.
Okay.
I
Try and help.
abstain on 36 and 37.
And then I'll make sure that I email those ahead of time.
Yeah. Okay, continuing business.
Yes, is the weight room done and the remodel and whatever?
Mhm.
And what did St. Luke's provide for that?
I have to get back on what St. Luke's contributed back.
As I recall, they said they were going to
Yeah.
do the weight room.
It is done, I know that for sure.
Anything else for continuing business?
I do.
Yeah.
I know that we've talked about this in the past, and I was just wondering about where, and I know budgets will come in, where we're standing with facilities on athletic facilities and fields. I know that it's been something that hasn't been done in the past, and I think that we need to think for the future. It's quite embarrassing sometimes when you have other athletes coming here and their parents are walking out talking about how horrible our fields are. And it's difficult to play on. So
I
I
will-
just want to know where we are.
Yeah, we've been discussing that in finance. We had a change in chairs, so I'm not going to ask Brian to answer that because he doesn't really know. But we've been discussing that in finance, Colleen. We're actually trying to put money aside, and we did put money aside this year. It's going to take us a little bit to come up with money. Ultimately, we'd like to do like a Warren Hills kind of thing where it's one field services everybody. But
I
it's,
think that's great.
as you know, it's going to take money. So that's what the goal is, to accrue money over the next couple of years to get that done.
We'll be looking at doing a long-range facilities plan shortly.
Yeah.
That's part of my goals for this year, so.
Can I just chime in?
Yeah, absolutely.
I think the consensus last year was that we were going to try to cut in some areas, but then also spend, but not spend in one specific area. So we're trying to accrue a little bit of everything, and then at the same time, also putting money away each year.
Putting money away is not going to get this done. It's not going to, if there's so much money that's needed for fields, and as you said, the athletes are putting their best foot forward and our school's not. There's,
I think we put it between 10 and 20% away.
We put a
We put a
substantial.
substantial amount, Colleen, and if over the course of 3 to 5 years, it can get done.
right.
But if you want it done now,
It's not going to happen in my children's lifetime, but I also don't think it's going to happen in 10 years with the amount of money that it costs to do the kind of field that one has. So it's just something that you really need to think about, even if it means a referendum or a line item.
All right, we can take another look at that in finance. I don't think we thought it was going to take 10 years, though. I think we thought it was going to
No.
take like 4, knowing
It
what
was-
money we had.
It's a
And
lot of money.
I think Shirley might, she can answer that. Maybe not now, but maybe at another
It just,
time.
it
Yeah.
depends on, I mean, with the amount of money we were put away this year, if we could do that for the next several years, then we'd be in good shape, but we don't know that we can do that in the upcoming years.
that would be the
We've had
only
money
problem.
set aside previous years that's just
Never
been
spent that.
thrown away.
Which is why we decided to do it differently, because the amount of money we can usually just say 1 year at a time can't really repair even one field. So we were trying to do a bigger amounts of money to
Yeah.
do a universal field for all, because by the time we tried to fix all the other ones individually, we would never get there.
We also put money into the track field and fixing the track field. So we did do that. I know it's not substantial, but at the time when we were making the decisions, we didn't even know if fall sports were going to happen. So we figured at least the
Right.
track, everybody walks on, they utilize, even during shutdown, people were utilizing it. So we put the money towards the track first. And we are saving. I don't think it was substantial. I can't talk about past years. I don't personally agree with just putting money all into one area, spread it out. Facilities, academics, and sports. So hopefully that can be our goal, that each year,
If you think about it, over the past years, the money has not been spent in that manner on athletics in the manner that other schools have. So education and facilities have gotten a large amount of that. There are, on the football field, the Booster Club bought new uniforms for the kids because they literally needed them. So it's just stuff that the kids are embarrassed, and that's the worst part. Like when you're on that football field and other schools are talking about it. It's and soccer too. Like if we could get, I'm in full agreement that we don't need to spend it on baseball and then football, and we need to get a field like that.
Yeah.
But it's just my contention that
I am working
really
on
is
making
not
sure
about
that we
it.
get an updated estimate on what that field would cost, so
Yeah.
that way we can determine whether or not we can get there in a reasonable amount of time.
Yeah, it's been a priority discussed multiple times in finance.
Yeah.
So it's not like we're just saying it, it's been discussed. So,
We'll look at it again, Colleen?
short,
Just ask.
Yeah.
short
And we'll
from
report
other
back.
than, literally Jackie pays taxes tomorrow. Anyone in, it's
Yeah.
process.
Well, one of my continuing business things we need to bring back is we need to look at the educational foundation, which could also help contribute to the field. So what do we need to do? Where do we leave off with that? What do we need to do to restart that?
We need to decide who's going to run it. And it's really the bottom line. Because we've gone back and forth whether it becomes an administrative role or it becomes an outside entity role.
I think we had all decided, and I think, Chris, you had a lot of input into this, that the successful ones are run by an outside entity, not run by the board or the administration, because nobody has the time to devote to it.
And with other schools, like the one when I brought up a while ago, they actually pay somebody to run the foundation. You're talking bigger, it's like
Yeah.
a part-time person that runs the foundation. And generally, people who are on the board of the foundation are some of the major contributors to the foundation as part of the membership. As part of the one, either you fundraise or you contribute.
So it's-
I still have all the documents. I met with people from St. Luke's to set it up. It's not the administration. Most superintendents are liaisons on there.
Right.
And it's community and a couple of board members that make up the foundation. I'll forward this stuff and there's a person that for a fee, obviously, will come in and help facilitate that. She works with that school district and do like a contact. I'll forward all the information.
Yeah, who was looking at it? Was that curriculum looking at that?
Yes.
That's curriculum.
Why don't we put that on the agenda for curriculum? And maybe, Chris, you can come with that information, and we can have this discussion again? Go
Is
ahead.
that like the lights we were talking
It's for everything.
Is that how, remember I was talking about?
No, that was a private donation.
Okay.
Yeah.
That was a private
But
donation.
that private
But
donation instead
that's
could
what you're
come through a
hoping to get.
foundation.
Yeah, that's what.
That's kind of what you're hoping to get.
Yes. Because to Colleen's point, it's going to take us a while to save, as we know, to save the
We
money.
can save, but we can certainly look into this, because I had suggested that we had in
Right.
1999 or 2000, we had football lights donated to us. That's what the football lights are out there. So if we can get the educational foundation going and we can get more donations, now we shorten the lifespan of having to save to put the fields in.
All right.
Or
It's been in curriculum for a while, Sean's.
Yeah, and it just,
Getting people to run it.
we just have not gone off the dime on it. So let's
That's all.
revisit it and see what we need to do. Because we all know how worthwhile it would be if we could get it going.
Sure.
What else anything else under continuing business?
Do you want to say something about the?
Aye.
I just wanted
I'm
to
gonna
see
say
where we
something.
were with we had that double booking we talked about in curriculum, and we were going to be looking at streaming the teacher in because she couldn't be in two places at once.
I think we settled that, Chris. I don't know if you want to.
Streaming is taking place.
No, we switched her schedule, so she's actually switching when she initiates each class period. So she starts with because it's only 3 class periods, because each class period has one class has a 60-minute on Monday, because the other class goes to B.E.
Right.
On Friday, we do a 60, because the other class goes to the B.E. as well.
Was there a reason we didn't look into the streaming, so it could just be?
We can stream, we are set to do it, but we're preferring the actual teacher in the classroom to teach it in each class.
Yeah, it is
But-
the same teacher though.
Correct.
So, I'm confused now.
We're not streaming it.
So half of the period, they have the teacher?
No, it's not what it was discussed in curriculum. That's your answer. She's in one room 2 days a week and in another room 2 days a week, instead of being in both rooms 5 days a week or 4 days a week, whatever, how many days science is. And then streaming half the time in one class, streaming half the time in the other class.
So there's
It's
no
not
stream.
that
So
way.
what's happening in the classroom the 2 days the teacher is not there?
Somebody else.
She's in there every day for 30 minutes.
So she's half of the period she's in classroom A, and the other half of the period she's in classroom B. So while she's in A, what's going on in B?
The asynchronous instruction, like the activities that she's giving.
With the other teacher in the room watching the children.
Yeah,
I sent a schedule out that we're doing.
yeah, you sent it to me. I saw it. I didn't understand it, and I
Yeah.
sent back questions.
I think the question becomes, it goes back to the streaming versus non-streaming. Like, we can't split it, right? We discussed this in
No.
curriculum. So do we really want her to teach 30 minutes and then walk across the hall, and so it's a whole 60-minute lesson? I think that's really what we talked about it, but I don't know that we settled on
The
that.
thought here is that she's going to stream a 30-minute lesson, right? Stop this, it's just about, you wanted to stream for the full 60 minutes of the
To somebody.
The teacher, so the kids have access to that teacher for all 60 minutes. And they would have access whether she's in the room or in the other room if the streaming was occurring.
We can stream. The option, the best option that we're talking about to use the teacher was to split so there's actually person-to-person contact in that classroom for the full 30 minutes. That's what we opt.
So we'll stream it then. Then we'll do what we
Yeah.
discussed.
We'll stream for 60 minutes.
We're 30. I don't care,
We'll
but
stream for the whole time, but then half the kids get her in one room and the other class gets her in the other room, the other half the class. So they still get 30 minutes a day,
Right.
but they're streaming.
the other
I think
30
that-
minutes, they're not just sitting there doing busy work.
I think the problem is the access, the kids don't have access to it.
Right. That's
Right.
That's where streaming will hopefully bridge that.
Exactly.
Get their questions answered when she's not there.
Okay. Anything else under continuing business? I had one more. Well, if anybody else does.
I have one question. So going back to what Mr. Cooper said earlier about the opt-ins and the dates for it. Now, I did see it come out advertised, through emails and stuff. My question is if you're opting to change and be out now, is there going to be a form for that, or are we going to have to confirm that we want our kids still in? Like, is there a clear line there or not?
Yeah, so it's a good question. So if at any point, if you want to opt out into all virtual, that's not an issue for us because we don't have to worry about social distancing and classroom size and things of that nature. So at any point you want to opt out, just let in the high school, Mr. Dr. Lazaro know, and then in the elementary, you let Mr. Carabinas know. That can be done on a next day basis. The opting in is really where we have the challenge, just to make sure that we don't have a class, like kindergarten where we already have quite a few kids. We add a few more in there, that we may be moving a room or something like that. So if you're here, and you're staying, you have to do nothing. We're just assuming you're going to stay. If you want to opt out, just let us know.
Okay, I was just wondering, because with the numbers being affected, like if all of a sudden 5 kids out of that class aren't going to be for the winter semester, quote unquote, then if 5 are coming back in, our numbers are staying the same, but then we split a class and now we have 2 small classes and go, so I didn't know if that was going to affect it enough and how many classes were on the line that if that happened, we'd end up with 2 classrooms of 5 instead of 10.
Yeah, unfortunately, we're not going to know that until we see what the numbers are that want to come back in. That's the peril of the process. And there's really if there is a good way, and anybody wants to suggest it, let us know, but we figure this is probably the best way to do that. But then we'll, at the next meeting, and we're meeting finance the day of the next meeting beforehand to go through all those numbers just to see where we are. So.
Anybody else have anything for continuing business? My last thing for continuing business is just to remind the public that there's a referendum question, and if you vote yes, you're voting to cost $13,000 approximately to the school district. That was the number we were given early in the year. So a yes vote will cost us $13,000. A no vote does not cost us anything. You decide where you want to go with that. New business. Anybody have anything for new business?
Yeah, I just wanted to mention just that if we want to have a quick discussion on allowing outside activities to use the buildings. Personally, I don't think it's a good time to start that.
Yeah, we should have that right now. I have an item too. I don't want to forget to do it.
Yeah, I do know that in my county meeting this afternoon, we did discuss this, and it seems like the majority of the districts are not going to allow outside organizations to use the building, especially now with the uptick again in the cases. So, but I figured it'd be good for a full board discussion.
Yeah, we did kick it around at, I don't remember what committee meeting. I don't think anybody at the committee level was in favor of opening the district buildings to outside entities. But what's everybody's feeling on it? BYAA, I guess, is the biggest one going forward. Mm-hmm. That would be the next one coming up. They use the Oxford Street gym, the bathroom facilities, things of that nature.
BYAA right now, it does not look favorable for the league to have a basketball season in Blairstown right away. No, because they do before school, so that's a huge chunk of game time and things and gym use. I know some of the other townships just this week have decided no. I can't blame them. BYA, I'm on the board, is in favor of whatever the school decides, and we're definitely putting the kids being in school before anything else. I know there's been some discussion with some of the school about timing-wise, because of all the groups having to be so small and spread out and having in between and cleaning and all the multiple rigors it's going to do to get high school sports. Timing-wise, I know would be a real stretch. And then for our little gym, we really couldn't have more than a team and a coach, as far as the guidelines for occupancy. So as of right now, I don't think it's going to be a season of basketball. We are looking into, and I know it had been discussed a little bit with one of the other members of BOE about doing an outdoor activity for the kids for the elementary school on the courts at some time in the spring or the summer, so we can get them engaged, especially our 7th and 8th graders that are looking to move into the high school play. So we are looking at maybe doing something like that in the future, and hopefully the school board will support BYA in doing that.
What does everybody else think?
We're listening to what Melissa said and what everyone's saying. The points are well taken. How does this affect high school sports?
Well, high school sports are still going to run.
Yeah.
They're still going to run board approved, right? Or no, we don't. When do we vote on that?
We don't.
We're going to appoint the coaches at the next meeting.
NJSIAA decides those things.
Because we're using the logic at the lower level, but it's a hard pill for me to swallow that we're doing in person, indoor sports, but our kids aren't in school 5 days a week. And then if we have sports and another kid on the other team tests positive and our kids have to quarantine, that affects their education. So I really don't want to deprive the kids of doing winter sports. I really don't. I think this is hypocritical. You know, and it's gonna expose the kids to other teams and other and then, then we're doing this, 2 days and then the 3 days.
Yep.
And then, I think our priority should be getting the kids in and it's least exposure and contact. And the fact that we're indoor, how does that fall in line with the logic? Indoor is not safe, outdoor is. So I understood the fall sports, this doesn't make any sense.
NJSIAA came out with their guidelines and of how the fall sports the winter sports are supposed to run. So we're going to follow those guidelines.
But the board has a decision. The board can decide whether or not we want to reject that or accept that, correct? Or no?
Well, we could cancel. We can't say we're going to run with our own rules, but we can say we're not going to run at all. We can that's within our.
We need to have that conversation.
Well, then we probably need to have that sooner than later.
Well, I think the next meeting, when's the next meeting in November?
18th. It's early because
Will we have the information on how many kids are coming back by then? I think that's a good time to have it, because I think it does go hand in hand. I agree. Nobody wants, sports more than me, but I also do agree that I've said, been very honest the whole time, that I want our kids in as much as possible. So I'd like to see how many kids are coming back. And I think that's a good conversation for the next meeting.
And I think if we are going to allow sports, then we have to have our kids in more.
I just look at it this way, what we had to deal with over the last weekend just shows, we had all the kids here, we would have shut the district down for 2 weeks. Is what it comes down to. If we had every kid here, because of the amount of exposure we would have had. So I understand and I agree with you. I think I love to see all the kids in here, but it's too tenuous right now.
We did talk about, though, having the kids in more.
Yeah.
Whatever
At the
more
high
is
school
at the high school level, not at K through 8 or pre-K through 8, at the high school level. Are we looking at anything to lengthen the day or?
Yeah, I mean, this was a discussion in curriculum, and we said we would have ideas for you at the next curriculum meeting. So that's what our goal is.
While we're having this discussion,
that's what our goal is. So we are prepared. We'll be prepared on November the 11th.
So we should probably discuss the sports, whether or not to have them start that in the curriculum level as well.
Are they going to be socially distancing and wrestling?
Not while they're wrestling.
They don't have cheerleading, so. They don't have cheerleading.
Indoor versus outdoor.
December 3rd. December 3rd. 3, right? 3rd. December 3rd. So we'll decide then. Yeah, we'll discuss it in curriculum.
Discuss the curriculum and
have
see where we want to go.
But what about the youth sports? I'm against bringing.
Yeah, we're back. We got to go back.
sports into.
I'm with you, Colleen. I don't think we should bring anything into the building that could contaminate it other than what we have to have in here.
Right.
I don't know what everybody else's feelings are.
Well, that's how I feel about the high school sports, too.
Well, I know, but let's deal with B.O.E. Let's deal with other issues first. What is everybody else's feelings?
I agree.
Thank you for saying something. All right, here we got 4. So I guess there's your answer.
But I don't really think we have a choice. I mean, I also think if we are doing high school sports, they're going to need Oxford Street. They're going to need every space. My children couldn't even get into practice last year after time because there was still cheerleading from high school going on there. And we're going to have to separate so much here with the small groups that I just don't, as a BYA mom, I'm sad to say, but I don't think it could happen.
Well, we're going to look into 3rd Street, using the gym, not for obviously basketball and things like that, but for like cheerleading.
You can't. The ceiling's too low.
Yeah, for cheerleading it's too short.
So we can't use it for anything.
Not really.
Even track. What about track? We thought about it. We said track.
Track just runs in the hallways.
Swimming always is good too.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're just trying to clear our gym space. If we do go in winter sports,
Yeah.
we have an extra gym. So
Yeah, I mean, the only thing you would do is wrestling, but they have their own room anyway, so it doesn't really help you.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mary Ann, did we take sports out of the curriculum responsibilities? We left that as clubs and put curriculum.
What do we?
We talked about that at the last meeting, that it didn't really, remember we were going through what we felt was our responsibility. I didn't feel that was, I think we took it out.
Clubs and extracurriculars, but not.
So where are we going to put sports? I know why we did it, but we didn't think we'd be having this discussion.
Right. I'm fine taking it, but I just don't want to, we just made those responsibilities.
Yeah, I don't
No.
think we actually put it anywhere, to be quite honest with you.
Well, because this wouldn't be a discussion you would think you would have to put anywhere anyway.
Right. I mean, it could go into facilities, and you can get the facilities
It makes more
together.
sense in facilities.
Let's
I
put it in
think.
facilities,
We're talking
I
about the
don't
fields.
and the usage of the.
Yeah.
Let's put, all right, forget it, Ted, we're gonna throw it over to facilities.
So I've got a scheduled facilities meeting.
Well, it's a finance/facility, so it's kind
Oh,
of,
there you go then, yeah.
that's already
Same group
scheduled.
anyway. Okay, so we're adding winter sports
To the finance.
to finance.
Right.
Okay.
That was new business, right? Anybody else have anything for new business? Like I said, I have one thing when we get there. My thing, I wanted to bring up, we discussed this somewhere. We use school boards as our policy checker. The other 3 sending districts use Strauss Esme. Strauss Esme is a paid service. I think Chris got a quick cost last time we looked at this. It's $10,000 for the first year, $5,000 for the second year. The reason why I brought this up and was discussing it at one of the committee meetings, when I was looking at policies a lot of school districts are putting in place specifically around COVID issues, we have none. We've put none in place, we've changed nothing, we've done nothing, which made me start thinking about where we really stand in policies. And when I started looking at other districts have a lot more policies, and the policies state more things I think that we need. And I think our issue is that school boards doesn't do the same job that Strauss Esme does. School boards looks at our stuff and kind of says it's okay, or they send us like we have some general things today, but they still haven't even come back with anything on COVID related. So I wanted to throw out, what does the board think about? It would be another expenditure of $10,000, and we can throw it to a committee to really look into it. But I would like to suggest that we look at Strauss Esme like Harmony, Hope, and White, and maybe you two, Colleen and Ted, could jump in on what your experiences are and what you think the value is in switching over to Strauss Esme.
It's definitely a more fluid service. It's easier to understand. They give out alerts every so often that give us the updated policies. It's just a more fluid process.
Colleen, you
I agree. It's on the policy here, and if you get an email that says this is going to be changes, this is the old, this is the new, this is what we're changing, it's just highlighted, it's just a lot easier to understand. Now we get these policies and you're not really sure where they're flowing from, or with Strauss Esme to see what they're.
Brian, you still listening?
Yes.
Did you hear any or all of that, I hope?
I did. I mean, the district has had Strauss Esme in the past, and it's an expense. And at some point in the past, the board decided that it would have the same bang for the buck using school boards, and it was actually a savings, not using Strauss Esme. You're going to get the same policies. School board flags the ones that they think are important. It's a free service. School boards audits your policies for free periodically. I've worked under both systems. I don't have a preference one way or the other. Strauss Esme will cost you some bucks. School board obviously does not, other than your membership fee.
Right. Now we already pay because we need to be a member of that. The cost, I don't know if you heard me, is approximately $10,000 for year one and $5,000 every year thereafter.
Well, I'd like to say that when I was at the convention 2 or 3 years ago, I learned that school board has a customized service. So I think we should also look at that, an enhanced service. Costs a little bit of money, I don't know how much, but we should look at that as well.
So should we throw this to policy and let policy decide, look at some numbers and see if we can do a better job with school boards and come back with a recommendation on school boards versus Strauss Esme?
I think so. I'm not on policy, but I do like the idea. If White, Hope, and Harmony are using the one, I just always think anytime we can be as cohesive as possible.
Keep us on the same page. It's a good point.
I would like to go that direction.
Good point. All right, Brian, can you take that up?
Tell me what you want again.
Policy to look at the differences between the two Bob says for a fee, we can get an enhanced service from school boards, what the fees would be, and I guess come back with a recommendation.
I'll work with Chris Caruba on that issue, because he's got the contacts, I do not.
Yeah, that's fine, and then like have policy make a determination. All right, anybody else have anything for new business? Okay, I guess we're back to public participation. Michelle, do you have anything for,
I don't.
nothing? Anybody in the public have anything for public participation? I remember this time. All right, I guess, can I motion a second to adjourn? Second. Meeting adjourned.